All right, Bob Holt's with us, outstanding sports writer extraordinaire from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and with us every Thursday, at least most of them. Bob, how you doing today, man? We got one weekend left in the regular season for college baseball. The Hogs are going for an SEC championship, and I think we should have a pretty exciting weekend. Hopefully we get baseball in tonight, but I think we're good for the next 2 days, so I think we should see a pretty good series. This is a good Florida team.
Yeah, Dave Van Horn was talking about it yesterday on his media Zoom that Florida's probably as talented as any team in the country. They were preseason number one, I think, in some polls, and they got off to a bit of a slow start, but they're 17-10, and so they're playing for the title too. I mean, it's amazing. There's 6 teams that mathematically could at least share the overall title, still going to last weekend. But Arkansas is in the driver's seat because if they win, if they sweep, obviously they're the champions. Probably 2 out of 3 would do it, maybe even 1 out of 3, depending. But it's a great way to end the season with a very meaningful series. It's a great way to end the regular season, I should say.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at here. That's what I'm getting at with this, with my next statement here. There are certain achievements that you're looking to accomplish throughout a baseball season in college baseball. And Dave yesterday on the Zoom said, look, I want to go out and win the West Division because you don't play everybody in the league. You really can't control what's happening in the other divisions so often. And they've been so successful in their division this year. 13-5 in the West. You want to win the West. Of course, winning the overall league championship, though, there's something about that is so different from winning a tournament. An SEC tournament, as difficult as that is to do, it's a week long. The national tournament, and again, that's what you're playing for this year, is you want to go to Omaha, win the whole thing. That's what you're playing for. But that's also a tournament that is 1 month long. When you're talking about a body of work, winning the Southeastern Conference in baseball is an incredible accomplishment. Even if you don't make it 13 weeks in a row winning a series like this team is trying to do, I feel like winning the Southeastern Conference in baseball, Bob, is so amazingly difficult that it's only happened twice in this program's history. They've been to Omaha many more times than that.
Yeah, it's a 30-game conference season, so it's a big sample size, certainly for college baseball, maybe not for Major League Baseball. For college baseball, that's over half your regular season games. And, you don't play everybody in the other division, but certainly they didn't play Vanderbilt, who, some people might consider the best team over there. They played Tennessee, who's leading it. They're going to play Florida, who's right there. They didn't get to play Missouri, but maybe that's a good thing for Arkansas since Missouri rose up and somehow beat Mississippi State 2 out of 3. I'm still not sure how that happened. They almost swept them. But, I think the West is a tougher division anyway. They played South Carolina, who's a very good team over there. It's going to go to the NCAA tournament, just like those other teams I mentioned. So I think it's kind of like football. I think the West is tougher in baseball. The East is very good also. But, I think you're right. Arkansas won in 1999. And then in 2004, 99er Norm DeBryan, 2004 Dave Van Horn. So, I think proving your team proving themselves over a 30-game schedule to me is a more significant accomplishment than winning the tournament, which is still very tough to do. But honestly, this year when Arkansas goes to Hoover, I'm not even sure what they're playing for. I think they've got a number 1 seed sewed up. I'm talking about number 1 overall seed probably. Certainly if they win this series, I think they'll be the number 1 seed, no question. And I couldn't see them falling much more to number 2 national seed, no matter what happens this weekend in Hoover. So, the regular season to me is much more significant accomplishment. And I think in any sport.
Bob Holt joining us here on Halftime. Bob, I feel like, you start a college baseball season and you want to make it to Omaha. And that's the goal at the start because it's so difficult to make it there. You want to be amongst the final 8. And then that tournament itself, is like its own certain thing, and we had Bill King yesterday, one of our Wednesday guests usually, he said, it'd be a disappointment if this team doesn't go to Omaha. I agree. I think they would view it the same way. Does this team need to win a national championship to appease a fan base that Feels like this is the program that's going to end the lengthy national championship drought outside of track. Does this team need to do it this year? Because I feel like this program is at a level where it's going to happen sometime in the near future.
Well, I mean, obviously they've been number one all year, so yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Arkansas's program has reached a level where there's a bit of disappointment if you don't go to Omaha every year. That's just not realistic. But if they do it this year, that'll be 3 straight times that the tournament, the season's been held. Obviously, nobody got to go to Omaha last year, unfortunately. But when you've been ranked number one all year, I think it would be a disappointment not to get to Omaha. More disappointing than usual. But I think you have to look at other sports like basketball. Baylor was the number one seed, Gonzaga was the number one seed, but a lot of high seeds didn't even make it to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament. And Arkansas's basketball team made to the Elite Eight, which is kind of the equivalent of College World Series, I guess, from about the Final Eight teams in basketball. So you're not one and done in the NCAA tournament or in Omaha, but you're 2 and done, until you get to that final round. So I would hope if Arkansas does, I hope people understand how hard it is to make it to Omaha. Even if Arkansas is going to be playing at home and at regional, super regional, it seems like a pretty safe assumption. It's no guarantees. I think every year about half of the top 16 seeds don't make it to a super regional. So it's teams that get to play at home, they either get knocked out in a regional or in a super regional. And so I hope people, if Arkansas doesn't go to Omaha, I hope people won't consider it a bad season. Yes, it'll be disappointing, but I think you'll have to understand how hard it is to make it to Omaha, and certainly how hard it is to win a national championship. But I think the key is that you put yourself in position every year. I mean, that's what the great programs do in baseball, basketball, football, the teams that make the playoffs now. The more you get there, the better chance you have of knocking that final door down. And so I don't know if Arkansas is going to win it all this year. I think they certainly have a great chance based on what they've done so far. But I do think it's a program that is going to continue to put itself in position. If you keep having great seasons, getting to Omaha sooner or later, the odds are you're going to win it all.
Bob, I want to go back to a point that you made a moment ago, and you mentioned that Arkansas regardless, pretty much have this top 8 seed guaranteed in the regionals when it comes up. And did you say? I just want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say you think they have the number 1 seed regardless of what happens for the rest of the season?
Well, I think if they were to lose, like get swept by Florida, which I think is highly unlikely, but let's say that did happen, then they go to Hoover, where, like I said, I really don't think they have a lot to play for.
Right.
Let's say they went 0-2 in Hoover. So if they lost 5 straight games, then they're probably not going to be the number 1 overall seed. But I don't think they drop much lower than a 2 or a 3. And like you said, I certainly think they have a super regional as well as a regional sewed up.
Right.
Like I say, if they lose 5 in a row, the selection committee may not reward them with a number 1 overall seed. But I think if you're one of those top 8 seeds, I don't know if there's a huge difference between being a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever.
Well, I
certainly think they've done enough.
What I wanted to allude to was just
that.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, Bob. What I wanted to allude to just a little bit was, do you think, kind of depending on how this Florida series turns out, if this thing is moved to a doubleheader tomorrow and a single game Saturday for whatever reason, do you expect Dave Van Horn to kind of play with the pitching staff a little bit, just to kind of see some different guys in different situations? We're seeing Caleb Bolden on the bump for Friday afternoons, Friday night's game. Do you expect more of that moving forward as we get into the SEC tournament? Where I agree with you. There's not a lot to play for, because once you get there, if you win the thing, absolutely go try to win the whole thing, but you don't necessarily need to, because like you said, we pretty much have a top 3 seed wrapped up regardless. So I guess I'm just curious, do you think we'll see more playing with the pitching staff?
Maybe not this week, and certainly if it were me, and obviously, nobody really cares what I think, but if Arkansas wins this series, I think they're sure of a number 1 seed. And then if you go to Hoover, I definitely would not give Kevin Kopps much work. Maybe do whatever you feel like is, keeps him sharp, maybe an inning or 2, if you play 2 or 3 games. I'd give Casey Opitz a game off, get some of those younger catchers in there. I'd start Jackson Wiggins, maybe give Connor Nolan the start. Definitely would have Wicklander on a pitch count. I think you could do that in Hoover. I don't. Maybe this is blasphemy. I don't know if that's what he thinks. I'd almost treat Hoover like midweek games. I really would, because and I don't mean that as a knock on the SEC tournament, but I just don't think. You want to keep the momentum going. You want to keep guys sharp, but I just don't. I would treat that as a way to, give Kevin Kopps, a bit of a break. Like I said, maybe give Casey Opitz a game off. Let those younger catchers get some SEC experience. I just don't see what Hoover can do for them other than wear out their pitching staff.
Well, we had a text come in here, both Bob and Phil, from Nate, said winning the regular season is much better than winning the SEC tournament. Before we Phil, Bob, do you agree with that? Like, would it probably mean more to this team to win the regular season rather than winning a quote unquote meaningless SEC tournament?
Yeah, I definitely think that. We just thought, you win the SEC regular season title, you've proven yourself over the long haul. 30 games. You get hot in Hoover, that's nice. And, for a team like LSU or something, they might need to win the tournament, depending on what they do this weekend, to get a bid or make a big run. For Arkansas, I really just think it just wears their guys out. So I would use it to give some of those pitchers who you might need in the postseason, give them some good work. Play some different guys. I don't mean like you rest all your regulars, but I definitely would get, especially Casey Opitz, who obviously had a very physically taxing season as a catcher. I would definitely get him a game off. Mm-hmm. There were two. I don't depends on how many they play, but the SEC regular season title to me is much more meaningful than the tournament title.
I think there's pitchers and even position players in some cases that Dave would like to get into the game in certain situations that he can't right now, that in Hoover you can. And that's something we'll get into maybe next week. Bob, we got to run. Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for coming on a little later today.
Okay, you guys take care.
Thanks, Bob.
You got it. That's Bob Holt from the Democrat Gazette, and we'll have him next Thursday, as long as Arkansas baseball's not playing in the middle of what halftime would usually be airing, because next week, that is the week that it could actually happen. Hey, if you're nervous when you got to visit the dentist, I understand it. I understand. You got to get a hold, though, of Dr. Bo Sparkman and Dr. Brogan at Riley Farm Dental at 5901 Riley Park Drive, Suite A. That's Highway 71, Riley Farms. You're going to notice the moment you walk in, they'll put you at ease. You'll feel very comfortable, and you'll feel like you're part of the Riley Farm Dental family. More information at RileyFarmDental.com. Call 226-3500. Riley Farm Dental is voted top 3 best of the best every year for 4 years running, providing all dental procedures, braces, implants, cosmetics, everything else. That's RileyFarmDental.com for more info. Halftime homework to wrap it up.